Welcome to Basketball U. If you're new to Basketball U, make sure you slam dunk that subscribe button. And just to make sure you don't miss a thing, make sure you tap that notification bell right after you hit that subscribe button. Basketball U, welcome back. Good to see you. Before we get started, we would like to thank everyone who has checked out the channel. Be sure to hit that like button. Today, we have a special role player who took a little different route than your average athlete. National College Player of the Year, NBA Scoring Champion, NBA Defensive Player of the Year, NBA Most Valuable Player, two-time NBA Champion, Basketball U family. We like to present David Robinson. David Robinson was born in Key West, Florida, the second child of Ambrose and Frida Robinson. Since Robinson's father was in the U.S. Navy, the family moved frequently. After his father retired from the Navy, the family settled in Woodbridge, Virginia, where Robinson excelled in school in most sports, except basketball. Robinson attended Osborne Park High School in Manassas, Virginia, just outside Washington, D.C., where Robinson's father was working as an engineer. Robinson was of average height for most of his childhood and teenage years and stood only 5'9" in his junior year of high school. But during his senior year, he experienced a large growth spurt and grew to 6'6". He had not played organized basketball or attended any basketball camps, but the school's basketball coach added him to the team, and Robinson earned all area and all district honors, but generated little interest among college basketball coaches. Robinson graduated from Osborne Park in 1983. He achieved a relatively high score of 1,320 on the SAT and chose to attend the U.S. Naval Academy, where he would major in mathematics and play on the basketball team. At the time, the Naval Academy had a height restriction of 6'6" for all cadets, and in the autumn, when the new academic year began, Robinson had grown to 6'7". Assuming that he was unlikely to grow much more, the Academy's superintendent readily granted him a waiver. However, Robinson continued growing, and by the start of his second year at the Academy, he had nearly reached his adult height of 7 foot, which later prevented him from serving on any U.S. naval ships. Robinson is widely considered to be the best basketball player in Naval Academy history. He chose the jersey number 50 after his idol, Ralph Sampson. He began college with no expectations of playing in the NBA, but in Robinson's final 2 years, he was a consensus All-American and won college basketball's 2 most prestigious player awards, the Naismith and Wooden Awards, as a Naval Academy first-classman. In 1986, Robinson led Navy, a number 7 seed, within a game of the Final Four before falling to Duke in the East Regional Final. Robinson played his first 3 years for the midshipmen under Paul Evans, who left Navy to coach at Pittsburgh, and his senior season under former University of Georgia interim head coach Pete Herman. Upon graduation, he became eligible for the 1987 NBA draft and was selected by the San Antonio Spurs with the first overall pick. However, the Spurs had to wait 2 years because he had to fulfill his active duty obligation with the Navy. Robinson considered leaving the academy after his second year, before incurring an obligation to serve on active duty. He decided to stay after discussing with the superintendent the likelihood that his height would prevent him from serving at sea as an unrestricted line officer, which will be determinal to his naval career and might make it impossible for him to receive a commission at all. As a compromise, Secretary of the Navy John Lethman allowed Robinson to train for and receive a commission as a staff officer in the Civil Engineer Corps. As a result, Robinson was commissioned in the Naval Reserve and was only required to serve an initial active duty obligation of 2 years. After graduating from the Naval Academy, Robinson became a civil engineering officer at the Naval Submarine Base Kings Bay in Georgia. He was recently featured in recruiting materials for the service. Despite the nickname Admiral, Robinson's actual rank upon fulfilling his service commitment was lieutenant. Since he had not signed a contract, NBA regulations stated that Robinson could have re-entered the draft after his naval service, although there was speculation that he might choose not to sign with the Spurs. Robinson agreed to move to San Antonio for the 1989-90 season, but the Spurs agreed to pay him as much as the average of the salaries of the 2 highest paid players in the league each year, or release him to free agency. The Spurs had spent the second half of the 1980s as an also-ran, bottoming out in 1988-89 with a 21-win, 61-loss record, the worst in franchise history at the time. While it was widely thought that the Spurs would become respectable again once Robinson arrived, no one expected what happened in his rookie season. Robinson led the Spurs to the greatest single-season turnaround in NBA history at the time, a record the Spurs themselves broke in 1997-98 after trading Tim Duncan, which was then broken by the Boston Celtics in the 2007-08 NBA season. The Spurs leaped to a record of 56 wins and 26 losses for a remarkable 35-game improvement. They advanced to the second round of the Western Conference playoffs, where they lost in 7 games to the eventual conference champion Portland Trail Blazers. Following the 1989-90 season, he was unanimously named the NBA Rookie of the Year, and subsequently, Sega produced a game featuring him entitled David Robinson's Supreme Court. The Spurs made the playoffs 7 more seasons in a row. Robinson also made the 1992 U.S. Olympic Dream Team that won the gold medal in Barcelona. During the 1993-94 season, he became locked in a duel for the NBA scoring title with Shaquille O'Neal, scoring 71 points, breaking George Gervin's single-game franchise record of 63 against the Los Angeles Clippers to win it. In that season, Robinson averaged a career-high 29.8 points per game, 10.7 rebounds per game, career-high 4.8 assists per game, and 3.3 blocks per game. Robinson went on to win the MVP trophy in 1995, and in 1996 he was named one of the 50 greatest players in NBA history. Still, from 1991 to 96, Robinson was thwarted in his quest to claim the one prize that had eluded him, an NBA title. During that span, the Spurs were eliminated from the playoffs by the Warriors, Suns twice, Jazz twice, and the Rockets. The loss against the Rockets was particularly painful for Robinson because it occurred in the Western Conference Finals, with Robinson playing head-to-head against his chief rival, Hakeem Olajuwon. By his own admission, Robinson was outplayed by Olajuwon in the series, their only meetings in postseason play. Early in the 1997 season, Robinson's dreams of becoming a champion seemed to vanish when he hurt his back in the preseason. He finally returned in December, but 6 games later broke his foot in a home game against the Miami Heat and ended up missing the rest of the regular season. As a result of the injury to Robinson and other key players, most notably Sean Elliott, who missed more than half the season, the Spurs finished the season with a dismal 20-win, 62-loss record. However, his injury proved to be a blessing in disguise. Despite having only the 3rd worst record in the league, the Spurs won the NBA draft lottery, and with it, the first pick of the next year's NBA draft. They used that pick to select Tim Duncan out of Wake Forest University, who was, after a few years, the final key to Robinson's quest for an NBA title. Before the start of the 1998-99 season, the NBA owners and NBA Commissioner David Stern locked out the NBA Players Association to force negotiations on a new collective bargaining agreement. This lockout lasted for 202 days, well into the regular NBA season, before an agreement was finally reached. After playing a truncated 50-game season, the Spurs finished with an NBA best record of 37 wins and 13 losses, giving them a home court advantage throughout the playoffs. The Spurs blitzed through the first 3 rounds of the NBA playoffs, beating the Minnesota Timberwolves, Los Angeles Lakers, and Portland Trail Blazers by a combined record of 11 wins and 1 loss to reach the NBA Finals for the first time ever. In the finals, the combination of Robinson in the post and second-year power forward Tim Duncan proved overpowering, and the Spurs beat the New York Knicks in 5 games to become the first former American Basketball Association team to win an NBA title. Duncan was named Finals MVP. Robinson and Duncan were nicknamed the Twin Towers. The later years of Robinson's career were plagued by back ailments. During the 1999 to 2000 season, Robinson averaged 17.8 points per game, 10 rebounds per game, and 2.3 blocks per game in 80 games. The Spurs made it to the playoffs as the 4th seed, but were defeated by the Phoenix Suns in the first round of the playoffs, despite Robinson's 23.5 points, 13.8 rebounds, and 3 blocks per game. Robinson announced that he will retire from basketball following the 2002 to 2003 season. On June 15, 2003, in the finale of Robinson's career, the Spurs won another NBA title with an 88 to 87 victory over the New Jersey Nets in Game 6 of the 2003 NBA Finals. Turning back the clock, Robinson scored 13 points and grabbed 17 rebounds in his final game for the Spurs. He and the year's regular season and Finals MVP, Tim Duncan, shared Sports Illustrated magazine's 2003 Sportsman of the Year award. Robinson possessed tremendous mobility in the post, speed, and ball handling, especially for a center. With good hands on both offense and defense, Robinson was nearly unstoppable on both sides of the floor, throwing down dunks and blocking shots. He was also noted for his strong mid-range jump shot. Robinson averaged 21.1 points per game, 10.7 rebounds per game, 3 blocks per game, and 2.5 assists per game over 987 games in his NBA career. Also, he is one of only a very small group of players to have scored over 20,000 career points in the NBA, as well as being one of only 4 players to have recorded a quadruple-double with 34 points, 10 rebounds, 10 assists, and 10 blocks against the Detroit Pistons on February 17, 1994. He is also one of the only 6 players to record 70 or more points in a single game. Robinson scored 71 points against the Los Angeles Clippers on April 24, 1994. Only Elgin Baylor, who scored 71 points, Wilt Chamberlain, who scored 70, 72, 73 twice, 78, and 100, David Thompson, who scored 73, Devin Booker, who scored 70, and Kobe Bryant, who scored 81, have scored 70 or more points in a single game. Robinson is also noteworthy for his harmonious relationship with Tim Duncan. Sports writer Chris Sheridan noted that it was rare for someone like Robinson to have welcomed and mentored Duncan as willingly as he did, and to have reduced his own role in the team's offense to accommodate a younger star. In 1991, Robinson visited with 5th graders at Gates Elementary School in San Antonio and challenged them to finish school and go to college. He offered a $2,000 scholarship to everyone who did. In 1998, proving even better than his word, Robinson offered $8,000 to each of those students who had completed this challenge. And perhaps his greatest civic and charitable achievement, David and his wife, Valerie, founded the Carver Academy in San Antonio, which opened its doors in September 2001. To date, the Robinsons have donated more than $11 million to the school. In March 2003, in recognition of his outstanding contributions to charity, the NBA renamed this award for outstanding charitable efforts in honor of Robinson. Winners of the NBA's Community Assist Award received the David Robinson plaque with the inscription, "Following the standard set by NBA legend David Robinson, who improved the community piece by piece." The award was given out monthly by the league to recognize players for their charitable efforts. Robinson is also the recipient of the William E. Simon Prize for Philanthropic Leadership. In 2011, in recognition of his philanthropic efforts with the Carver Academy, Robinson received the Children's Champion Award with the charitable organization Children's Hunger Fund. David Robinson played his role as a center, and he's widely considered one of the greatest centers in the history of basketball. What a legendary career for the Admiral, 2-time Olympic gold medalist, 10-time NBA All-Star, and a 2-time Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame inductee. This is Basketball U. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And also, Follow all of our social medias right there in the description to keep yourself up to date, as this channel will have a lot of basketball, a lot of players, and a lot of training and more information on how to play the game of basketball. Remember, someone's always working. Are you?